Welcome to our program, and I'm your presenter, Ayubu Mzee. With us here is the former Tanzania Prime Minister, His Excellency Fredrick Sumaye, who is in London. He came to attend the Tanzania Convention Trade and Investment Forum, where he was able to speak to Tanzanians to try and update them on social, economic, and political and cultural issues that are happening in Tanzania. But today we're honored to have him here, whereby he's going also to update us on other issues that are happening in Tanzania, especially the forthcoming 2015 presidential elections. Your Excellency, once again, could you please introduce yourself, sir?
Thank you very much indeed. As you very rightly already sort of introduced me, I'm Fredrick Sumaye, former Prime Minister of Tanzania. I have been Prime Minister for 10 years consecutively, for 2 terms, that is, from 1995 to 2005. And of course, before that, I have been in the government as well, as minister and deputy minister. All in all, I have been in Tanzanian politics, active politics, as member of parliament and minister and prime minister for 20 years. So it's quite a long time to be in politics for that much. I left, not really left, but the active politics. I didn't want to contest for, say, for instance, the position of a member of parliament in my constituency in 2005. So I sort of rested up to now. Tanzania, I'm sure a lot of people would know where it is. It is in East Africa. It's the largest country in East Africa. It's bordering quite a number of countries, something like 8 countries. Kenya to the north, and then Uganda to the northeast, and then you come to Rwanda, Burundi, the Eastern Congo, Zaire, the Eastern Congo, and then Zambia, Malawi, and Mozambique to the south. So it's quite a large country with a coastline of about 800 kilometers along the Indian Ocean. It has a population now of for about 45 million people. It is, of course, as we know, a united republic. So it's a union between the former Tanganyika and then Zanzibar. So we have a two-system government, the government of Zanzibar and then the union government. I think that is probably what I would want to say about my country.
Now, maybe we could also learn a little bit more about Tanzania. If you give us maybe a health check on the economy, the present economic position of Tanzania, and marrying that with your time in office.
Okay. I would say generally we are doing quite okay, even since when we were in office. Up to now, I think the country is doing fairly well. We have now an average GDP growth of about 6.7 to 7 on the average, which is quite good. We wish we could have more, but that is how much we have been able to attain. Okay, if you talk of during the time when I was in office as Prime Minister, by the way, we have our system is almost like many other systems in East Africa, where you have an executive president, and then you can have a vice president, and then a prime minister, or one of those. But we have a presidential system, an executive president, and then a vice president, and then a prime minister. The prime minister is really the man who is in charge of the government. He is in charge of all the affairs of the government in terms of implementation of all the government activities, and he is in charge also of government business in the National Assembly. So he is quite busy. The economy, as I said, is growing at that pace of about 6.7 to 7%. The inflation now is roughly around between 8 and 9%. When we came in, that is during the President Mkapa era, we call it the third phase government, the inflation was nearly 30%, and by the time Mkapa was going out of office, it had come down to around 4.5%. So that's done, and the macroeconomic fundamentals were really in good shape and very stable. So we had a very stable economy, and development was really progressing very well. And then this fourth phase government took over and continued with whatever that had been done by the third phase government.
Let me say, Your Excellency, you're walking on the high street, maybe here in London, and you meet one of any gentleman and say, what has been your legacy? What have you achieved as the Prime Minister? What is it that you could tell him?
Thank you very much. Well, we have achieved. I always prefer to say we as a government at that time. First of all, that was when, for the first time, we had a multi-party parliament. I was the first Prime Minister to handle that parliament, and it wasn't really easy, but we managed very well, and we could see the democracy growing. Yes, and there were no serious complaints from the opposition, because we handled them properly. We listened to their arguments. Yes, if we argue, as the parliament business, if they get defeated, they see why they are defeated, and so on. So that was one area where I would say was a success story, because to handle the first multi-party parliament, when people had the experience of the single party system, it was not quite easy, but we managed. And then another one was, of course, as I said, the economy. If you can bring the inflation from that far up to that level of about 4.5, that is a big success with the economy, and people could see, the difference in terms of the cost of living. When the inflation came down, the people were quite happy with the cost of living, and they were enjoying their lives. So those are some of the legacies, I would say, that we can boast of. But of course, there are many others that happened during that time. I don't think we can go into every aspect of development. Yeah.
Now, looking back on this particular point, do you think there is anything that maybe you look at and say, well, I wish I could have done this, or I wish I could have improved this particular project, this particular sector? Do you have any regrets?
Not really regrets, but I think there are areas, in fact, as a human being, if you can do something and then come later on and look back, even in your own house, you would say, if I was to redo it, I would do it now this way. Okay, so it's not really a regret, but say improvements that you can make on the systems. There are so many new things in the country that probably we ventured into, and of course, when you are venturing into new areas, you are bound either to make a mistake, or sometimes not really make a mistake, but you could improve the system, and later on you can see that we could have improved on some areas. For instance, we have the mining companies in the country. It's not that I'm regretting that they are there. No, actually, I'm happy that they are there. But we could improve on some areas of cooperation with the companies if we are to do it today. But of course, I'm sure the present government is also looking into some of these areas so as to improve on them. Businesses, there are some areas where you need to do some improvements. There are some policies that you need to do some to make them better, so that you have more maybe attraction to investment and so on. So all these are always there in our country.
Now, that brings in the point of parliamentary democracy, because you did say that you are the pioneers. This was after the multi-party system for many, many years under His Excellency, the President Nyerere.
Single party.
A single party system. Now, the mindset was different. It was a difficult time for you and the entire nation as well to try and acclimatize to the new way of doing things in terms of parliamentary democracy. Now, here in the diaspora and back home, we have been reading on blogs and social media about what is actually, we've been following this very closely. We have seen fighting in the House, that is in the House of Parliament. I remember recently Tunda Lissu was thrown out of Parliament. We have seen kind of lack of concession in most cases. What is your own perspective on this? Do you see this as parliamentary democracy? Do you see this as, do you think we are going forward or we are moving back, or this is just part of the game?
Well, frankly, I think that is not parliamentary democracy. In fact, during the time when when we had the first multi-party parliament, that's when, during our time, you could have expected things like those, because people were learning. They didn't know, they didn't quite understand their boundaries and so on and so forth. I mean, if something like that had happened, you wouldn't be too shocked. But still, it didn't happen. It didn't happen during that time. Now it's happening. That is sad. That's not parliamentary democracy. It's just, I don't know, it's either people just, I don't want to say people running wild, but to be frank, I think there is a problem which I don't exactly know what, but maybe also the leadership of the House has to be more cohesive and more. There is too much party politics in the House. This is really the biggest problem. I remember when we were in the House, we didn't quite entertain the party politics. The party politics must be done in a separate room where you have your party caucus. That's where you play your party politics. But in the House, you should not bring party politics into the House. And this is exactly what is destroying our House, because people are bringing the party politics into the House. That's not correct. In the House, we are all members of Parliament for the people. Nobody has a constituency that has people only from one party. You will have a constituency that has people from all the parties, and some of them don't even belong to any party. So why bring your party politics into the House? And this is, I think, the biggest problem that we have.
Rosie is expecting a special guest tonight, but things are not going according to plan. Oh, he's late. But not quite.
Umechelewa?
Honey, everything is under control. Mshikilie huyo kwanza. Mrembo kama wewe. And
wow! Kim's wine? Africando. Ooh. Okay. That's why.
Ooh. And
Oh my goodness. Tanika? Coffee?
lakini mimi mtu wa Serengeti.
Bila shaka. Serengeti. Thank you.
You're always welcome.
Where did you get these things from?
They call me Mikey the Magician.
Can you see the magic? Have you taken out a mortgage since November 2004? Did the advisor ensure you can afford the mortgage and was the right mortgage for you? In some cases, you may have been given the wrong advice. Wise Claims can carry out a free mortgage review and find out if you are missold. You may have a claim worth tens of thousands of pounds. Call 0208 803 6128 to arrange a free assessment or visit our website wiseclaims.co.uk for more information.
Now let's talk about. I think we have the chief whip in the house. Maybe the chief whip is not cracking enough whip in the house.
Well, I think it's just all, you know. I think nobody has really sort of directed the whole house into parliamentary business. So people are just coming there with their party imaginations and party supremacy sort of in the wherever they are coming from and so on. So that is what is really killing the image of the parliament. But I hope with time it will come back again to a good house. Yeah.
Now this brings me to the point of we're still on the point of parliamentary democracy, but I wanted to speak about the issues that are around the democracy development in the country. Recently there's been a problem in the strongest opposition in the country, that is Chadema, Chama cha Demokrasia, and few MPs, including Mr. Zito Kabwe, have been chucked out of the not the party, but they have lost some positions. But this has caused a lot of acrimony. I was reading on the internet yesterday. I think the head of Chadema had some difficulties in some of the constituencies up north or south, I think. What I'm trying to establish here, Your Excellency, is this the death of democracy in the country, or where does this lead? Or do you think this is good news for your party, Chama cha Mapinduzi?
My views are quite different. I don't know really the very details of this thing in their party. I know what has been happening. They have been meeting and accusing each other and this and that. Okay, I don't think it is the death of democracy. I think we are waiting to see, but I think it can strengthen the democracy in the sense that if, as Chadema put it, if Zito was a problem in their party, then they should emerge now with a strong party. If Zito was not a problem, then Chadema will have a problem. And another party will obviously take over, because Chadema is not the only opposition party. Okay, so in that respect, I don't think it is the death of democracy. If it is good news for CCM, it is only good news for CCM, as far as I'm concerned. It is only good news for CCM if that will take us to a point where we will get stronger Chadema or another stronger opposition party. I, for one, hate to have a democratic system whereby only one party is dominating. That is very dangerous in multi-party politics, because one day, the people will throw that one party out and they will have no alternative party. They will pick anything to run the affairs of the state, and that will be chaos. So I don't want to get to that stage. Instead, I would want to have a strong opposition party at least one strong opposition party, like what you have here in Britain, what they have in America, what they have in various states of Germany and all these other democratic states. You always must have two parties whereby if people think the ruling party is not doing its responsibilities well, then they have an alternative party that will run the country and the country will remain stable. You don't want to have a system, a democratic system, a multi-party democratic system, where you have one party that if something happens and people don't elect that party, then the next alternative is chaos. You don't want that. And that is why I'm saying, God forbid, we need strong opposition party, another strong opposition, be it Chadema or another one, but we need a strong opposition party as an alternative party to CCM.
Your Excellency, sir, let's talk about this very point, add more information about this very point of opposition and especially Chadema. There is a very strong wind before the problem to come that was going towards Chadema, especially the youth. They felt different. They felt that CCM was not offering them so much. What do you think went wrong, and what is it you want to talk to the nation about today, or especially CCM members in the UK? You can see, watch them in the eye, and tell them about CCM and where it is.
Well, I think. What I can say is CCM is still a strong party, as I mentioned earlier, and there are quite a number of things that have happened in the country. For instance, with our education system, we have had so many young people now in the sort of in the streets looking for employment and so on. That's why people are making a lot of noise about CCM has let us down, CCM has done this. But of course we must also take into account what has happened with the global economic system. That has also affected us, and this is why some of our economies didn't respond very well to what we would have expected, what we had expected to attain. The levels that we would have attained, we didn't attain. So there isn't anything seriously lacking in terms of CCM or its government and so on. But it's just one of these things. I mean, even in Great Britain, in America, you see the state of the economy is really affecting a lot of people, and there are many complaints. And this is obviously for poor countries like Tanzania, then the impact is even more. And this is why there is a lot of noise about CCM is not really performing and this and that. But I'm sure under those circumstances, if it was not CCM, I'm sure the situation would have been even worse.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Excellency. Now, let's continue with our last few points. Is the issue of the 2015 presidential elections coming up. They're just around the corner. Do you think they'll be free and fair? And are you now rejuvenated enough to stand for elections because you've been out of government for a while?
Good. First of all, the issue of free and fair elections. Actually, in Tanzania, much as in Africa, always the opposition will make noise. However good you do the elections, they will make noise. But to be honest, as far as I know, the Tanzanian elections have been very free and fair. And I'm sure we will still do free and fair elections, these coming elections.
And are you standing for office?
Well, you asked me a very pertinent question. If I will be standing for office and I have been out of government I will be sort of out of government for 10 years, so whether I will stand for office, actually, to be honest, my being out of government, I think even makes me, gives me a better chance of going into government again if I really so decide. Because once you're outside, you really see a lot of things. The way they are running, you know, you say, oh, if I were there, I would have done this and so on. So actually, being out is more of an advantage than a disadvantage. But two, you will recall that after I finished my term in 2005, I went to Harvard, what was called Kennedy School of Government. Nowadays it's called Harvard School of Government. Okay, so why did I go to Harvard? Not really that I was preparing for a comeback, but actually I said I have been in public administration practicing, running after this, running after that, and so on. And I said, let me see what does theory say on what I have been practicing. Okay. Usually it would have been the other way around. You do the theory and then go to practice. This time, okay, it's not that I had not read public administration. I had, but I have practiced it now for over 15 years, over 18 years actually, to be precise, yeah. So I said, let me go to a good, renowned university and see where we could have done better, or where we messed up things, or where we went well, and what else we could have done, and so on. So that period also gave me a very good reflection of what we did in the government. And with that exposure, with that, first of all, the experience, and then the theoretical exposure and discussions we had with so many renowned professors there and so on. And then I came back now and was seeing everything now in its perspective, the way things are going. So if really I so decide really to go back now into politics, to be frank and honest, I think I'll do much better.
So that means that we take it from you that you're going to stand for office.
Yes, I intend to do so. I intend to do so, God willing, and the Tanzanian people willing. I should be in the race when time comes.
When time comes. Now that now brings in the issue of if somebody says, "Who is Mr. Sumaye? Why should I give you my vote?" We are not campaigning, but I just want to know who is His Excellency Sumaye. We are not campaigning. The time is not right. But who is Mr. Sumaye? Why should I give you my vote? Yeah.
Well, I don't know how I can explain that, but I know unless somebody just wants to give me some moral support from somewhere, who is not a Tanzanian, but most of the Tanzanians would know who Sumaye is. But as I explained, I have been a prime minister, I have been minister, I have been that, and I have worked. I have worked in that country for all my life. I have not worked outside the country, and when I finished this, even after my Harvard studies, a lot of universities wanted me to remain in the States, but I said no. I have to go back to my people. I want to be of some assistance to Tanzania and to Africa as a whole. So I am a good Tanzanian. I am a good African for Tanzanians and for Africa, and I really mean good to that country, to my country, and to Africa in general. So I'm sure when time comes, there will be a lot more details about all those who would be wanting to run the country. So,
On the last note, Your Excellency, your backyard, Arusha, there's been quite a lot of trouble in your backyard. That is Arusha. What is happening in Arusha? What is the problem in Arusha? Is it people are not politically mature? Is it what is happening in Arusha? Is it something with the opposition, or just people are just mad?
Arusha, you mean which Arusha now? The town?
Yeah, because every time we hear about political trouble, it's about it's in Arusha. Why is it Arusha of all places?
Yeah, it's really sad because in the past Arusha has been a very quiet place and cool place politically and economically. It has been a very thriving city. It is the center of East African community, if you know. It is where the International Criminal Court for Rwanda is situated. It is really an international town, so to speak. So it is very sad, even for us, to see what is happening in Arusha. Yeah, and it really started after or during the last elections up to now. So that is so. I mean, if it started with the elections, then you say it is politics. It's nothing else. The people are the same. They are the same people who used to enjoy tranquility in the past. They are the same people who used to enjoy their economic prosperity, because Arusha is economically very prosperous. But all of a sudden, during the elections and after the elections, the town has not enjoyed peace and tranquility. So it must have something to do with politics.
Now, lastly, Mandela. Everybody knows Mandela. He has passed away. I know you were a very good friend of Mandela in terms of our government. Our government put in so much. We lost so much as a people and as a nation in trying to protect what Mandela believed in. Is it possible you can maybe send a message of condolence and also tell us your time with Mandela, because it was during when he came out of prison that you were the Prime Minister?
Yes, it's really sad, and I wish to send my message of condolence to the family of late Mandela and also to the people of South Africa. But Mandela was really an icon of the whole Africa. He is a leader whom all of us looked at and said, this is a leader. This is a leader. Mandela had very special qualities as a leader. Well, he has been put in prison. He has suffered so much. His people have suffered. A lot of things had happened during that time. But when he came out of prison, that was a big win for all of us who loved freedom. You know, Tanzania has been fighting under Nyerere, has been fighting all the colonial powers who didn't want to release their colonies, particularly in the south, in the southern part of Africa, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa itself, and so on. Since we have invested so much in the liberation struggle in the southern Africa, so Tanzania is part and parcel of all the freedom successes in the south. So when Mandela came to Tanzania, he really came and said, I just wanted to come and say thank you. And he said, I have instructed my people that Tanzania has spent so much, they have committed so much in terms of their own lives to help us fight the apartheid regime. So we must be now together with Tanzanians in their struggles against poverty and also economic development. So this is really, to us, was really a president who was so thankful, who stood by his words, but who also pardoned those who really made South Africans, the black South Africans, suffer, including himself. So we have a lot to learn from Mandela, and we have to continue learning what Mandela stood for, and we must stand for those values that Mandela stood for.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Like I say, that this is the former Prime Minister of Tanzania, the land of Kilimanjaro, Serengeti, Ngorongoro. I want to say thank you for watching, but do not go away, because we'll be having more on Tanzania and this man, because he is standing for the presidential elections.